Well, hey there, it's Elka.
And Jen, and welcome to another episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about how Elka made her first $100 on Zazzle and the journey that has inspired where we are today.
Yeah, and first of all, if anyone here is looking to make their first 100 on Zazzle, we'll definitely be giving you some tips so that you can get there. We also want to share our journey and give you some perspective because if you followed us, you know that we've made a certain amount of money. But let's start at the beginning. Let's start with what is Zazzle. Zazzle is a print-on-demand company, and that's the platform that Jen and I have used to make over and earn over $1.5 million and counting. And it's been a game changer for us. It changed our lives when we started in 2007. And we haven't looked back. Since then, obviously, around 2017, we started teaching other people how to make money on the platform. And we've been really fortunate that so many people have told us what they've earned. And so therefore, we have actually a little bit of a tally where we can say, yeah, we've already in the last 4 years have helped people earn 3 million combined on the platform. So that's huge because it means it's not just Jen and Alka who are doing this. It's a viable platform, that Zazzle platform that can be used to create online passive income. And people always talk about, oh, it's not passive. Well, of course it's not passive completely, but boy, it's a very big jump from being any other online business that's considered passive. And we want to talk about that as well as helping you understand what's involved in getting to that first $100. And it may seem a low amount, but it's probably the hardest money that I ever made to make my first $100 on the Zazzle platform. And so you're going to hear our experiences because Jen also did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Slow and steady, but now that we're earning more money, we can say with confidence that that's not the only way that, like, it's not the indication of what's to come. It's just you have to get used to the platform, and we're going to help you with that today. Okay, so welcome. Let's get started. So, what is print on demand in the first place?
So print on demand literally means that the product or product that we create is printed or made on demand when the customer or client buys it. And this has many great benefits, and one of them being that there's no physical inventory. And so if you're familiar with Etsy or Shopify or drop shipping, there's a whole bunch of products that people make and they sell online, but they're physically making them before the product is actually sold. And so print on demand is really great because it's only made when the customer purchases it. So first of all, you don't have that physical inventory to store and or to make based on the fact that you're predicting demand. So you're only actually providing the demand once it's actually demanded, which is really cool. And then also for any type of person who has, like, let's say a physical store in real person rather than being on the online space, you have to sometimes sell your inventory first before you can purchase new inventory or even house inventory, right? And so print on demand is extremely up and coming and becoming a lot more popular because first of all of the eco-friendly benefits, and also just having, as I said, that demand and that possibility of creating the product when the customer buys it, not only for ecological purposes, but then also you're able to sell the product whenever. Some of my products that I've made in 2011, 2009 are still selling today because they're not physically made until they're demanded many years in the future. And so this is one of the amazing benefits of Zazzle is that we've built a business based on creating these products, and the demand is there when the demand is there. And so we're able to, use print on demand to create our own online business, which is awesome. So that's what it is in a nutshell. And a lot of people don't know what Zazzle is or print on demand because they're not in tune with it. A lot of people know what Etsy is and Shopify, as I mentioned, and drop shipping. But this is one amazing alternative that we live by and breathe by. And that's why we're so excited to help teach people how to make money online through print on demand and e-commerce platform, just because of all the amazing benefits that we've received over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't actually know that it's not just a shopping site. It's somewhere where the shopping site relies on people like ourselves, whether you're creative or not, to post up these products that are virtual so that the platform can sell them. And then what the platform does, like Zazzle, for example, pays a royalty based on, their terms and agreement. And in our case, we set a lot of our things at 10%. And so we can easily make that math shift to say, okay, if we've earned 1.5 million together, combined over the years, then that means we've sold about $15 million worth of Zazzle product in the time that we've used the Zazzle platform to sell our designs on these virtual products that become physical once the customer buys it. And so that's the first thing, is to know that it's not just a shopping site, it's also a place where entrepreneurs like ourselves and maybe yourself are looking for a way to make money online, and you can just like slip into their platform. They do a lot of the work, you just provide the designs, and then they pay you a royalty, which is awesome. And that concept has been the thing that's really won us over for Zazzle, because of the ability to just have Zazzle do like 90% of the work. We do the designing and post our store, things in our store, and we make it really pretty, and we do some social media, but really it's more just setting up your store and letting labeling your products properly to be able to sell them and reach those customers that might want them. So, but why is it like, why or how is it so hard to make your first 100 on the Zazzle platform? Because a lot of you have probably come to this podcast or YouTube channel video to go like, yeah, it's hard. How come, and how did Jen and Elka do it? And the thing is that first 100 was actually super hard for us as well, because we didn't get it. We didn't get the Zazzle platform. We didn't understand it. We didn't understand the kind of customers that come there. We came with a lot of assumptions that made it very difficult for us to even earn. Like, if you set your royalty at 10% and you make $100, that means you had to sell $1,000 worth of product, and that seems so easy, right? Especially if you're coming from another platform like Redbubble, Society6, Amazon Merch, Teespring, whatever else, Spoonflower. You may have already made quite a lot of money, and then you get to the Zazzle platform and it's like crickets. And so a lot of people actually leave, or they sort of get this negative impression of, oh, it's so much hard work. But what I want to say to you is that ultimately, if you do the work, and it's not actually as hard as it looks, it's just you don't know what to do, so you do a lot of extra stuff, then it starts to pay off for you. And so let's just go into some of the things that we did do to earn our first 100, which actually Jen and I, we both earned about $90 in our first year. We had to wait till second year to earn that extra 10. And wow, back then we were like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to put some products up and check the computer every 5 minutes after that and go like, selling?
Yeah.
No sales, no views. And then we'd get discouraged and we were stuck and we didn't know what else to do. And then we actually got some products taken down because we violated copyright. And so it was not the most fun experience, but it's not our fault that it was, it's not Zazzle's fault, it was our fault that we had such a tough experience to get going on the platform. Do you want to say anything more about what
yeah, and I think
first year?
also when you first start out, especially the fact that we started out in, as Elka mentioned, in 2007, 2008-ish, where that was just sort of the forefront of where people were starting to, write blogs and start to understand the internet a little bit more in terms of creating online businesses. When we first started out, the Zazzle platform, first of all, was completely different than what it is today. And also, Elka likes to tell this story, which I thought you would have said anyways. That
I can if you want, yeah.
When we first started out, people didn't trust buying on the internet. Like, it wasn't a thing. Like, people would rather
dinosaur age.
Yeah, would rather go into the store and buy something because they didn't trust putting their credit cards online. Seems so foreign now because today we just throw our credit card number out there as whatever and tap, yeah. And so when we first started out, it was just very foreign. And so for the fact is that Elka can now say that even with Cafe Press and Spoonflower and all these other platforms, but half of those platforms didn't exist when we first started out. So first of all, that's one thing, is that it was actually quite hard for us because there wasn't a thing like that before. And the fact is that people had to be encouraged and also feel comfortable buying online. So to reach $1,000 in sales now would be extremely easy versus back when we first started, because just even to get that volume and to have those clientele or the customer was just very hard. And so for us, it was this experience where, as you said, we were posting products for sale and we were refreshing, seeing if those numbers went up, but it didn't. And it was also just more so that understanding the business side of things and maybe why certain things weren't working. Now we're in the mindset that we know, okay, there's so many different things that go into owning a business online, like customer buying habits, creating that brand recognition, knowing that your customer feels comfortable with you buying, providing the products that people want to buy too, right? A lot of us come onto the Zazzle platform or any other print on demand and say, okay, well, I'm going to just post whatever the heck I want because I know that somehow I'll make money. And we like to use a saying called throwing spaghetti at the walls to see if it sticks, because that's what a lot of us do, is that we just kind of throw things out there and we don't think about all the other components within owning an online business. You are technically owning a real store, right? For me, when I first started out, I thought it was a game. Like, it's like a video game, right? It was like, because it doesn't actually physically exist, it's just for fun. But we try to teach our clients now that it's not just for fun, it's not just a hobby, it's actually truly a real thing. And our clients now, some of them, have made huge amounts of money because they've decided that they wanted to actually treat it as a real business versus a hobby.
Even though initially they were making less than $100 a year, if that.
Yeah. And so that initial struggle and, well, the time difference, of course, from way back when, 2007 till now, but even just, understanding what you need to do in those processes of how to actually show up for your business. And so there are people who are starting Zazzle businesses today. So today is May 10th, 2022.
Yeah, we record these podcasts initially, so you're going to hear this a little bit later.
Yeah, you're going to hear this obviously later, but when we are recording this podcast, you can start your online business today on Zazzle, and still to get to that $100 mark, it might seem difficult to you, but that's why we're here to inspire you and say that it is possible. And we struggled throughout our first earning experience because we just didn't know. We didn't have the knowledge that you have at your fingertips right now. You're listening to this podcast. The podcast didn't exist when we were starting out on Zazzle, right? And so there's much more information for you to help guide you.
Also, what's still happening, though, is there's still people who aren't making even $100 in a year, let alone just making that first 100. And so we have always been out here to encourage you to say, if it's not working for you, it's not because you're not capable, it's because you don't know the right steps to take, you don't know the plan to follow that's actually proven, and you maybe have done quite a lot of work, but you just don't understand, as Jen said, some of the key pieces that are important to running a proper business and using that platform. Because it may be that you're not even actually, like, the best thing for you is not to be on Zazzle, right? It could be that you should be on Fine Art America, or you should be on Redbubble because of the kind of artwork you produce, and that could be, like, that's important. That's a business decision you have to make. The second thing is that if you do feel like your work or you want to be on the Zazzle platform, whether it's because of your artwork or photography or graphic design, surface patterns, etc., then you have to understand how this platform works. And we've had a lot of clients who have come to us from where they are coming from another platform, and all they're used to is uploading a design they've made in Photoshop. And Zazzle's so different than any of the other print-on-demand companies because it's allowing people to customize it. And so while the customer is shopping, they know they can change things. They can modify the design. They can add text. They can add photos. They can add graphics in the actual template design that we have already set out as the sellable design. And that's hard for some people to take as a concept because they go like, well, I don't want to have anyone mess with my design, or it should be just sold as is, and that does help sell products, but the key is the customization. And that's the one thing that we learned the hard way because we did the same thing. We just posted pictures or photographs or, design prints, like patterns, etc., and expected those to sell. And the problem was that all of these patterns and photographs, even if it was my photograph of a sunflower compared to someone else's photograph of a sunflower, it's still just a photograph of a sunflower. And we didn't have the brand behind it to say, I want Elka's sunflower rather than Jen's sunflower. Or, how are you supposed to distinguish between a black and white pattern of polka dots unless you add something to it, right? And then, so how could you compete if you just did the basics on, what others were already offering? And as soon as we started creating our own brand and our own type of designs and competing on the level of what the customer actually wanted on the Zazzle platform, we started to see that earnings go way beyond our first $90, even though for a whole year we were going like, I don't know what's going on. I'm working so hard and nothing's working.
And tying that into relationships with other people, and also you're feeling worthiness, right? Of that, if you don't earn or you haven't earned the amount of money that you think that you should be, it can be defeating. I know that Elka, when she first made her $90, it was such an amazing experience, and we were really happy. But $90,
I was jumping around in the house.
Yeah.
I made $90. Everyone's looking at me as if like I've lost my mind.
Yeah. And I know like many of our clients have expressed the same feelings as well, that they were very excited because they finally achieved this milestone within their Zazzle business. But then the people around them, they're like, are you crazy? Like, are you, you're not mentally crazy, but like, are you nuts? Like you are deciding that this is a good amount of money for you to make. And it seems very defeating, especially if you have the people who you care about the most around you saying, wow, you only made $90, like only $90. And that's, it cuts deep. And so we want to give you the encouragement that if you're listening to this podcast and you're sort of in that same, income bracket where you're still making, you haven't even reached your first $1,000 yet, or even $100, that it doesn't mean that that's the end all and be all of your Zazzle earnings. You have the potential to move forward. We can never make any income claim statements because we cannot determine how much you're going to make on Zazzle, but we do know from our own experience that we have surpassed those amounts, and that you just have to keep faith and keep on working on your business and believing that you can achieve it, because those hurtful words or the lack of support or people around you who are putting you down and saying it's not worth it, don't waste your time, why are you doing this isn't a real job, all of those things we've personally heard multiple times over from friends and family, and it can be very discouraging, right?
Yeah, and if that's how you came up across our podcast or YouTube channel right now and are watching this video, maybe you're in that boat. So don't give up. That's the first thing as a tip, we want to tell you. Believe in yourself, and then also get the help you need, right? We're not here to pitch anything at this point. We're just saying it took me a long time to figure out I couldn't just do it on my own. So I'm just going to share I've done this before. I used to do this all the time, but it's like 14 years of earnings. You don't need to hear every single earnings year. But when I first started in 2007, I made $90. That was my first year. Then in the second year, I'm going to look at my notes, make sure that was $2,300. And then in the next year, I made $37,000. And then the next year I made $50,000. The next year I made $67,000. And then the next year, which is year 6, 2011, I made $100,000. And from then on, I kept even with $100,000 or more. And it took a long time to get there. It probably would have taken me a lot less time had I had anyone to train me or talk to me about what am I doing right or doing wrong. I just had to figure it out myself, right? But that huge jump from year 2 to 3 was because I started getting business training. And then I had to still think about how to apply it to Zazzle. Well, now you're starting on Zazzle. You've got there's videos all over the place on how to start on Zazzle, but I believe that the ones that we show you are very comprehensive and can help you get started right away. We have lots of challenges and things to really get you going and see the potential that's there for you. And we want you to be encouraged rather than discouraged. The next thing, though, is to make sure that you get the right training. And also don't just keep throwing spaghetti against the wall, and also not live by the rules of whatever your artist ego is saying, right? And this was the hardest part for me to swallow, because I had put up my paintings, I put up my photography, I put up, so I did monogram designs, and that's actually where I really am flourishing, but I still sell all my whatever I've got there in terms of photography and some artwork, I've got it selling. It always surprises me, even though it's like, oh, it's dropping off, and it's like, nope, just got another sale. So so don't be discouraged. It's not just all about weddings and text-based designs. There is so much value or scope in the Zazzle marketplace for customers, as long as you understand what the customer needs, because that was the second part is, first I just added my designs, but afterwards when I realized I need to display my design on that product in a way that makes the customer use it or really need it, then that's when the money started rolling in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add to that?
No, I mean, well, sort of same story, definitely. And for me, I learned from Elka. So if you've been following us or have been in our community, you know that I learned the 5 strategies that she learned on her own and implemented and realized that she needed to make a difference, right? And so that's more to my progression too, because I made $90 in my first year. I didn't make as much in terms of the increment and the exponential growth as Elka did, but I definitely increased my earnings year after year. And then I got to a certain point where I was making about $6,000 US a month, and I was able to sustain and live on my own, let's say. And this was when I was not teenager, but my early 20s. And for an early 20 some odd woman to be able to say that they made, enough money each year to live on their own, and it's online and with creating their own online business, it was really cool and inspiring for myself, but then also all of my friends didn't understand it. They were like, what? You can make money online? You don't have to be physically in a job working 9 to 5. And it felt really empowering. So if we would have given up in year 1 when we made those $90 and we said $90 isn't worth it, we need to figure something else out. And as Elka and I both like to say, a real job, quote unquote, then we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be talking to you on this podcast. We wouldn't have influenced our clientele. We wouldn't have created our courses. We wouldn't be able to share our experiences with you and encourage you to do the same, start and also keep going. If you're, no matter what point in time you are in your Zazzle journey, whether that be less than $100, maybe you're actually at 1,000 or 10,000, or maybe you're even higher up in your levels where you're making $50,000 to $100,000 plus, which there are Zazzle users and designers who are making that. It doesn't matter which level you're at. You just always need to say, okay, what's the next step, right? And always keep yourself going and believe in yourself, because there are a lot of challenges, especially with creating an online business, and then even with Zazzle, right? It's, a process where you're always you want to make sure that it works out for you, and being your own boss is amazing, but it also keeps you accountable, right?
Yeah, and don't forget your first, whatever you want to say the saying is, the first $1, first $10, first $100 is the hardest, and then it gets easier after that. And what we just want to, if you're sitting at the, listening to this and going when are they going to tell me exactly what I need to design on the platform and what products to make so that I can actually make $100? Unfortunately, we can't do that because it changes all the time. And what we have to do is look instead, you do that, we teach our clients to do that, to go and look to see what Zazzle is selling. And then where do you get married up with that? What do you have to offer that's unique and different in terms of your skill set, your interests, your niche or niche? And then you say, okay, I can contribute here. And then you start making products that work for that niche or niche. And that's when you'll start to see that first 100 appear in your earnings, because you'll be serving a customer. And that's the one thing that we learned after pushing and pushing and pushing. It's not about we making money and trying to flood the market with products hoping that something will stick or sell. It was that we just had to sit back and realize we have to serve the customer. So that's how you make your first 100. And I'm going no, don't leave me like this. But it's the truth, and it's the only way that we can teach you, because we know from all of our clients that we've had as experiences that Jen doesn't make the same money or the same makes money on Zazzle in a different way than I do. And all of our clients do the same. They all have a different way to approach it. We understand that way. We can help you, teach you the business part of it, but you have to bring the creativity or the information in terms of what a customer wants. Even if you're not creative, you can always get that, graphic made, or, there's Fiverr, there's all kinds of sites where you can get graphics made or even purchase them. But the key is, what does the customer want and how can you serve them? And that was the eye opener for me. That's why I switched from 2,300 to 37,000 within 1 year. That's a huge jump, and why it just kept snowballing after that, because I kept learning more and more about how I could serve the customer, and that allowed me to continue to increase my income. So thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. See you later. Bye.